Three, two, one. What is going on, guys? Welcome back to Mozambique of Geeks, where there's only one geek today, as you can clearly tell. Liam is off filming Batman Brave of the Bold. He has been officially casted as Nightwing, aka Dick Grayson, which is really exciting. So he won't be doing the podcast again because he's too busy in Hollywood. I'm just kidding. He is off acting, though. He is studying acting, so he'll be off doing that for the next 3 weeks, I think. But don't worry, you're gonna have to deal with me today. Next week I'm gonna have a friend of mine on. We'll do a Dragon Ball episode, and then the week after that we might take a break, and then the week after that Liam will be back, so we'll be back to normal schedule. It's just these next 2 weeks he won't be here. Very sorry to people that do love Liam. I do as well. It feels really weird not doing it with him, just doing it on my own, because he normally does the intro and all that, and then I had to do it today. It's weird, but you know, I'm super supportive of him and his acting. I really hope he can go as far as he can with that, and as far as his dreams and goals get him to. But I thought today, because it's only me, I thought what a great time to talk about Superman Legacy. Obviously you all know I'm a massive Superman fan. I had to rep him today with the Superman jumper, and I've mentioned in the past how much I love the character, and so I thought great opportunity to talk about Superman Legacy, talk about what I actually think about the David Corenswet casting, the Rachel Brosnahan casting, kind of what I want out of the story, some books that I kind of want referenced in that movie, and I also got round to watching My Adventures with Superman this week as well. The first 2 episodes came out last week, and so I'll be talking about that as well. Actually, we'll start off with that. My Adventures with Superman. Jack Quid, who voiced Clark Kent, aka Superman, who we all know from The Boys, who played Huey from The Boys. First thing first, I think the animation in general is great. It does very much look like an anime, and it kind of feels like an anime. I think a lot of the characteristics that, kind of the physical characteristics that the character showed, like when Clark first met Lois, they have those little blushes that we always see in those animes. And kind of the action is very anime-like, which is awesome. I really like it. I really hope it's something actually I've always wanted from a lot of superhero TV shows. Animated series is kind of a more anime approach. Because, you know, I'm a massive Dragon Ball fan, and I do watch other animes like Demon Slayer and One Punch Man and JoJo's and all that. I think anime is such like a great kind of source of media. You can be really creative with it. You can really go like above and beyond with the animation and the style and the character designs and all that. And so I thought I always wanted that transition into comic books, because we all know that comic books can be very kind of like colorful and flamboyant and very, you know, out there and creative. And so I kind of wanted anime and comic books to come together, and this is probably the closest we have got. I know we did get some Marvel animes, like we got an Iron Man one and we even got a Punisher one, but I think this one's kind of done properly. It has a very good structure, story structure. Yeah, and so I really like, obviously DC have announced the Suicide Squad anime, which looks great. We'll discuss that in another episode. But I really do like the animation in this episode. I think it's great in these first 2 episodes, or this season actually in general. I think it's great. I can't wait to see more. I think the Superman suit looks incredible. I love the S especially. It's a lot of kind of like Kingdom Come S, which is awesome. I love the trunks. Obviously, I'm a big sucker for the trunks. You can't beat the trunks. But yeah, I think his suit looks great. I think Jack Quaid's performance as Clark was unbelievable. I think as Superman he was okay. I think he definitely he's only just become Superman, so we will see him slowly become the Superman that we know. But at least he has that great starting point of kind of like, he doesn't really know what he's doing. Like he nearly called Lois, like when he was Superman, he nearly said Lois, like he knows her. And that kind of like Superman doesn't really know how to kind of do this yet. Which is really great. Because I love seeing Superman slowly learn to become that symbol of hope that we all love. Like I think even in episode 1 when Clark is going for a jog and he kind of says to himself, he goes, today's going to be a normal day. It's going to be a normal day, no powers, nothing's weird's going to happen. And then he sees a cat in a tree. And then he goes to save the cat in the tree, of course, and then he comes back and he's kind of like, I just had to. Which is great. I love that. That's classic Superman Clark Kent. But especially with his Clark Kent, I thought he reminded me a lot of Christopher Reeve, and I always thought Christopher Reeve was the best Clark Kent. I know everyone will say Tom Welling. I haven't seen Smallville yet. I haven't got really time to sit down and watch 7 seasons. I wish I did. I've seen a lot of clips of it, and Tom Welling looks good. But I think in just Clark Kent alone, I think Christopher Reeve has always been my number one. I love the quirkiness. I love the awkwardness he portrays. The over friendly, over nice type of a vibe he gives off, and how everyone kind of like it's kind of weirded out by the niceness that Clark shows off, but then they realize it's kind of like how the world should be. Blah blah blah. We all know that story, and I love that that is heavily betrayed, and especially in the first episode. Excuse me for 2 seconds. I'm just going to take a sip. Yeah, that's portrayed in the first episode when Lois, they're all internships at the Daily Planet, and Lois lies to Clark and Jimmy about going out and getting a new story, getting a first page story. And then Clark realizes that Lois lied. And Clark confronts Lois and kind of goes, you lied, you can't lie to people. And then Lois kind of goes, no, like, this is our chance, you shouldn't, I'll do this better off without you, blah, blah, blah. And then Lois and Jimmy walk off, and Clark kind of like, he feels bad, but he knows that it was the right decision to do that. And then we see Lois walk down the street, and she kind of goes, I think I did fuck up. I think I did make a mistake, and I think I should have just told the truth to you and Clark. And I love that, because that's something I can relate to a lot. Is a lot of people kind of tell me that I try to do the right thing, and even though it can hurt and the truth can hurt, it's the right thing to do at the end of the day, and it's what needs to be told or done. So I love that was very early on in the show, like episode 1, I think the first like 10 minutes in. So I really like that kind of really set up the show, and I was kind of like, yeah, this is going to be proper Superman stuff. This is going to be great. I think Jimmy's great. I love Jimmy Olsen. I think he's fun. I think he's very kind of out there, and all the stuff he thinks about the aliens and how he first saw Superman. He's already like obsessed with Superman. Again, it was like classic Jimmy Olsen stuff. It's like the Jimmy Olsen that I know. That it's like obsessed with Superman, wants to be best friends with Superman, and when we can tell that early on, that relationship will become cemented. Superman being best friends with Jimmy Olsen, which I love, by the way, which I don't think has ever been explored in the movies. I don't think the animated series, but I don't think it's ever been explored in the movies, or the shows like Superman and Lois. But I really like how that again was really kind of cemented in the first episode. Second episode, sorry. So yeah, I think what I'm trying to say is kind of a lot of things were cemented, and a lot of what's it saying? A lot of roots have been planted, a lot of trees have been planted for this show to kind of grow, and the relationships to grow between, like, I mean, Clark and Lois have already like clicked like that, which I absolutely love. They clicked like great. I loved it. I think Perry White was good. I think Perry White will be a good character in the end. I think the villain is really interesting. I can't remember her name. It reminded me a lot of Livewire, so please let me know if I'm right in saying that was basically Livewire. I thought she was cool. I thought, again, those first 2 episodes, she's just there for kind of plot reasons to kind of set up the kind of Superman coming in, saving the day, blah blah blah. But the end though, with Amanda Waller, was really interesting. I didn't know Amanda Waller was going to be in the show. That means there will be kind of like, they'll branch out to other DC characters, and the Suicide Squad potentially shows up. I don't know. But I really liked that ending. I really liked how the episode 2 ended and what it sets up. Because and yeah, I think it's just interesting to see what it sets up, because everyone's going to kind of, I think as an audience member, like for me, especially someone who like is very up to date with the Superman lore, like I kind of know what's going to happen later on in the future episodes, but someone who's kind of getting into Superman, or really just DC in general, I think it'll be really interesting to see all these characters kind of grow together. See Lois become, the Pulitzer-winning prize reporter, that award that you get for being the best journalist. You'll see her grow into that. You'll see the relationship with Jimmy and Superman becoming best friends, and the villains growing, and then their hatred. And I think it's a great show, and a solid first 2 episodes. I highly recommend it to everyone out there to watch My Adventures with Superman. I think it's great. I think it's easily going to be one of the best. Yeah, I got a feeling it could easily surpass the Superman animated series, which is I think it's like the only Superman animated series we've ever gotten, but it's obviously number 1. It's regarded as one of the best. I love it. Tim Daly's Superman is outstanding, but I think this could easily surpass it for sure. I think this series was great. And I'm super excited for episode 3, which I think they come out every Thursday. And for people in Australia who want to watch it and don't know how, unfortunately you're gonna have to go on some doxy websites to try and find it, because we don't have HBO Max, and it's not even on Binge, who have a lot of the HBO stuff. But you're gonna have to go on one of those websites, if you know what I mean, to watch it. But I recommend. Hey, it's worth the virus on your computer, man. I'm telling you right now, it's worth the virus on your computer. Oh, take another sip. So let's get on to Superman Legacy, which will be coming out 2025, directed by James Gunn, who is obviously, we all know, the new head of the DCEU studios. I don't need to tell you how excited I am for this movie. You all know that by now. What a lot of you have been wanting to know is, what are my thoughts on David Corenswet as Superman? I think it's great. I absolutely love that casting. I love that casting. It's the only actor that I wanted instead of Henry Cavill. Obviously, I was really reaching out that James Gunn couldn't find anyone, and then in the end had to just go, Henry Cavill's back. But I'm really happy. I saw a picture. He looks like a mix between. It looks like if Henry Cavill and Tom Welling had a baby, and I was like, I can't unsee that now, which is great, because you have what is possibly the best Clark Kent, and then you have the best Superman into one person. You kind of have that. I think it's great. I'm really excited. I haven't seen much of his other work. I know he's in a show called Hollywood, and I think that's the only show that I know him from. I haven't seen any. I've seen a lot of clips of him. People have posted like a lot of clips, especially the one where he's kind of talking about his acting job. He kind of goes, the specials is what we call them. That's $10 in my pocket. I love that. I love that scene, and that's definitely kind of Clark Kent right there. I think just his voice alone is very kind of noble and kind of upstanding. But I think he can also do that kind of quirkiness that Clark, like I said before with Christopher Reeve, and what I've said with Jack Quaid is like it's that awkwardness and that kind of over kindness and being too friendly is what I love about Clark Kent. And it's why I think why I relate to Clark Kent a lot as a character. And I think he can do that. I think that's the one thing I'm looking for with Clark Kent in this movie is that. And then James Gunn did say this isn't an origin movie. He's becoming a Superman. He's going to become Superman that's already have a world of heroes, which we did see on Twitter today that they've announced Guy Gardner, Mr. Terrific, and Hawkgirl will be in this movie, which is exciting. Some great DC characters. I love that. There's already a Lantern in there already. I love that. So yeah, he's coming into a world of superheroes, which is something really interesting. I don't think we've really ever seen before, because Superman is normally the one to be the first superhero, and then everyone comes after Superman. But I think it's going to be really interesting to see how Superman becomes. Because in the DC universe, Superman is looked towards as the best DC superhero. He is, the number one superhero. He's the hero that everybody tries to be. So it'd be really interesting to see how they portray that in a world that already has superheroes. Will this world already have Batman? Will Batman already be an established character in this universe? Will Wonder Woman already be an established character? Or is it going to be a lot of small timers, and then this small group come in and they go, this group they're gonna do something, they're gonna change the world, Batman, Wonder Woman, Hal Jordan, all that. So yeah, I'm interested to see how they do that. Going on to the other castings though, I did get a bit distracted. Going on to the other castings, Rachel Brosnahan as Lois Lane is great. I love it. She reminds me a lot of Lois Lane from the 78 movie. I do have a little Funko right there. That's my Lois Lane from Superman 78. That scene when they're flying in the first one. She reminds me a lot of that Lois. Which is really great. I think she's an outstanding Lois Lane. I personally think the Lois Lane from Superman and Lois is the best Lois Lane that we have ever gotten. I do like that Lois Lane. She's kind of like something that I really love as well with Lois Lane in general as a character is she's the furthest thing from a damsel in distress. Which I love, by the way. I love more that when it comes to Clark and Lois, Clark is the damsel in distress and Lois is kind of the superhero. Because and I absolutely love that. I think it's great. But I think I like Lois more because I like Lois as a mother. I'm a huge fan of the Rebirth comics, and Lois Lane's obviously a mother in that. I think she's great. I think she's such a good mother to John. She still keeps that. She tells John. I feel like Lois in the comics, in the Rebirth comics, tells John more about standing up for others than Clark does. I think Clark kind of tells him how to deal with his powers and how not to hurt people and how to be gentle. But I think Lois kind of taught him more how to kind of stand up for other people and stand up for the truth and a better tomorrow. And I can see that a lot with that Lois Lane, because she's a human and humans make mistakes, but it's what we do after that is what's more important. So yeah, I think she's the best Lois Lane, but I think Rachel Brosnahan is great, and I think the Lois Lane we will get in this movie is going to be a lot like her Lois Lane. I can't remember the actress's name from the 78 movie. I do apologize. But I think she will be a lot more like that Lois, which is always wanting the next headline, always wanting the next story. But then when she finally meets Superman, she kind of realizes there's more to life than just the next story, and they have this beautiful relationship that evolves into Superman 2. Which is great. Which I think I can see that's where David and Rachel will go. Did I just make? No, it's Ross and Rachel. I was like, damn, that's kind of like Friends, but no, that's Ross and Rachel. I think David and Rachel, I think that's where that relationship will go in that movie, which is great. I love it. In saying that now, actually, that's one little worry that I do have with this movie, and I think a lot of Superman media has kind of come after this, is a lot of Superman media is trying to be like Superman 78. Superman 78 is the blueprint. Kevin Feige said it's the blueprint for every MCU origin movie, and it was the first superhero movie to kind of do well and kind of set the standard of what superhero movies should be today. And my one gripe with, and not really gripe because the movie hasn't even come out yet. What am I saying? I think my one worry is that this movie is gonna trying to be too much like He's gonna be trying. Yeah, fuck. He's gonna try too much to be like Superman 78, which is a really big problem. Because as much as I love that movie, I want it to do its own thing now. We're in the modern world. We're like 40 years from that movie. So I want it to do its own thing. Because we're going in a new direction. I hope it takes aspiration off other comics that haven't really been kind of based off, adapted from. Which I'm going to grab some in a second. And I'll talk to you guys about what comics I would like, what elements from those books that I would like in this movie. But I think I want it to do its own thing. And I think I do trust James Gunn in doing that. But I know James Gunn does love his nostalgia and his references to other old movies. And he has come off the record a lot of times saying that he's taken a lot of kind of inspirations from Superman 78. Even when it came to Guardians and the Suicide Squad, a lot of it came from that movie. So I'm really worried that now he's actually doing a Superman movie. He's quite literally taken that script or the script from the first two movies and just mushed them together. But like I said, deep down, I do trust James Gunn with his direction in this movie. And I think what he will deliver will be great. Going into villains now, is something that is on everyone's mind at the moment. Now that we have a Superman and Lois, everyone's kind of what are the villains, especially Lex Luthor. Yeah, so Lex Luthor will be an interesting one. He won't be the villain in this movie, I don't think. I think Gunn has again come out and said that he won't be the villain. Which I like, by the way. I really hope Luthor isn't the villain for a few movies' time. Because a lot of the you look at a lot of the Superman origin movies, Superman origin comic books, stuff like Secret Origin and all that stuff is kind of like Luthor isn't the villain. He's kind of on the side. He's kind of like we just see him share his opinion about Superman shouldn't be doing this. How dare an alien tell us humans what to do? This is my city. I built it. Why does everyone love him now and I've given Metropolis everything? So I really hope they establish that as well, and I think that's what they're going to do, which will be great. And I think such a great parallel with Lex Luthor and Superman in general is, I think us as human beings, we always look at people that are too nice and we always kind of hold a grudge against that. We're just going to go, they're in it for something, or we always kind of feel like we should be doing that, or I do the same thing. Why does nobody appreciate me? And so I feel like that is the very human thing that I think we have, and I think Lex Luthor, that's kind of his main trait. And I really hope but then with that, we see Superman be the symbol of hope and saving cats out of the trees and helping old lady cross the road and just wanting to do the right thing and wanting to be a helping hand to everyone. And I think with that parallel, it kind of sets up Superman to be a better hero than he actually is, which is great, which is why I love that kind of dynamic with Superman and Lex Luthor. And I hope James Gunn has set that up some point in Superman Legacy, because I think it's such an important factor to the character of Superman. because I think as humans, when we see someone like Superman, we kind of go, nobody can be that good, nobody can be that nice. It's impossible for someone to be like that, but it actually isn't. It actually isn't. I think anybody can be that nice. Anybody can be a helping hand. Anybody can really be a symbol of hope in that matter. And so that's that kind of judgmental fact about Lex Luthor that I think a lot of people relate to Lex Luthor in a way, and I think a lot of people kind of relate to Batman in a way, but that's a different story. But Lex Luthor, seen Superman 1, that the lines that always follow her. Sorry, Mr. Luthor. That one's for my Superman fans out there. You know what I'm saying? That one's for the Superman fans. I'm sorry, Mr. Luthor. That's my guy. Yeah, it's great. Little Superman 1 reference for you, yo. That's for the Superman fans right there. Gene Hackman, great Lex Luthor. Probably the best Lex Luthor. Look, I'm gonna say, I think Kevin Spacey was a really good Lex Luthor. I just think the script was horrible. That's all I'm saying. I'm not gonna mention his name again because we all know what he's done. But I think Kevin Spacey was a good Lex Luthor. The Abomination, Superman and Lois, we'll just leave that there. That was definitely a performance from an actor that portrayed a character. Let's just leave it at that. But Gene Hackman, the GOAT. But yeah, that is something that I really want with Lex Luthor in Superman and Lois that really establishes in that first movie, is that kind of dynamic between them. And I really hope at the end of the movie, Superman kind of confronts Luthor for something, and we kind of set that up. And I really hope Luthor is kind of like maybe like an endgame villain, or like before the endgame type villain. And then it's just the whole time, it's just kind of him and Superman just going back and forth. And in saying that, so we want that interesting dynamic. Who would we cast as Lex Luthor to portray that? A lot of people have saying, I have his name written down. Give me 2 seconds. Bill Skarsgård, who played Pennywise the Clown, in It, he's been heavily rumored for the role. I know Nicholas Hoult is as well, who played Hank McCoy in X-Men First Class. But I know Bill Skarsgård is heavily rumored to be in that role, and I think it's okay. One actor that I would absolutely love as Lex Luthor, and I think it would make sense for Luthor to be older as well. I'm terribly sorry if I butcher this name. Chakwude Iwuji. He played High Evolutionary in Guardians 3. I remember watching that movie and I literally turned to Liam and I was like, you know who that reminded me of? That was Lex Luthor right there. Lex Luthor! Mr. Luthor! Like that was strangely like Lex Luthor. And I was like, I want him as Lex Luthor. I think his performance as High Evolutionary was outstanding, and it was very much that kind of like I can't figure out the word, but that hatred that he had for Rocket, because Rocket figured out how to create a more stable civilization quicker than he did, and it was that he hated that. He hated someone being smarter than him. And the anger he shows was outstanding in that movie. And that's something that I really want out of Lex Luthor. That's what I want Lex Luthor to do when he sees Superman at the end of this movie, or throughout this movie, I should say. It's kind of like that judgmental thing of Superman is doing a better job than what Luthor did. And Luthor just hates that. He hates it, man. He can't think of anything worse than someone being better than him. He can't admit it. He won't admit it, but he knows it deep down that Superman is better than him. Superman is doing more for the world of Metropolis than what Luthor did. And that is actually described in a really good comic book that I recommend on Comics Corner, was a book called Justice. I highly recommend checking that out. Alex Ross does the outstanding book. um, but yeah, it's that hatred that I absolutely love with that, and I think the Chakuru Iwuji. I'm terribly sorry if I butcher these names. But I think he would be the best Lex Luthor. Going on to two other really important characters in Superman's life is Martha and John Kent. I know there's a lot of rumor going around that Brendan Fraser is eyeing the role of John Kent, which I would absolutely love. I think his performance in The Whale was outstanding. I watched that movie a few weeks ago. I bored my eyes out. Brilliant performance from him. That was very much like John Kent as well. He kind of, his character in that really wanted the best for his daughter. He really kind of pushed his daughter to become the best version of herself, and the emotion and the gentleness that Fraser put on that was outstanding. And I think that's something that is really important for Superman. I think that is something that unfortunately wasn't portrayed very well in Man of Steel. I think can't remember his name. Fucking hell, who's the guy who played John Kent in Man of Steel? I can't remember. I can't remember, but I think it wasn't portrayed that well because I think it was set up to Martha to be in that role. But I think John Kent is like, for me anyways, I think John Kent is the number one most important character to Superman. I think John is a more important character, and I think it's more of an important job to get him aced down to a T than Lois is John Kent, because if it's not for John, Superman doesn't become the hero he becomes. I think the lessons John teach, he isn't the hero. Oh my god. I've had the hiccups all day. And now what's to come in now? Fucking brilliant. But I think that's like the most important part about that character is it's the most important character to the character is John Kent. Because like I said, it's those lessons that John teaches on the farm, and you know when Clark always goes, I can clean this field in 10 seconds if I use my powers, and John's like, that's not the point. The point is to put the hard work in, take your time, and you know it's those lessons that make Superman the hero he is. And Martha is just as important to that. So who would I cast for John Kent? I have a few names written down. Obviously, we're talking about Brendan Fraser, which would be great. I would love Brendan Fraser. The other names I've got down is Nick Offerman, who was on Park and Recs. Can't remember his name. He was on The Last of Us as well. Can't remember his name on that show. I'm so sorry. I'm so bad with character names, but actors, I always get down to a T. But he's kind of like, I think he's another one who comes off as like a manly man. And you know, Nick Offerman is a master carpenter, so he's always using his hands, and especially in Parks and Recs, he always comes off as a manly man. But deep down, he's a caring person. He's a very caring and loving person. And I think in that way, it's important for if Clark gets that love from Nick Offerman, Clark goes on to show that love and care and affection to the world. So I think Nick Offerman would be a great John Kent. Another actor who I would really like, who I think has come out on record saying he's not a big fan of superhero movies, if I'm correct in saying that, but I think this role would be really interesting to him, is Sam Elliott. Who, those who don't know, he played General Ross in the first Incredible Hulk movie, the Eric Bana one. He has that like deep South American accent, boy. Sounds like that, boy. But like deeper, you know, he's that real deep. You know, Texas Southern American accent. But he's another one who's a very gentle man. Who I think who just loves life. He thinks life is the most valuable most valuable thing in life. It is kind of like having a life. I think taking care of yourself in life, I think doing what you love in life is the most important thing, more than anything. It's more than money and fame and cars and houses and women. I think it's kind of taking care of yourself and taking care of others and just kind of valuing life. And that's kind of like the one lesson that Superman taught me the most, was valuing life and appreciating life. And so I think that is my number one pick for Jonathan Kent in this show. And I think he would be an outstanding Jonathan Kent. But again, like I said, I wouldn't be mad if Brendan Fraser was given the role. I wouldn't be mad. Another character, obviously, we want to start talking about Martha now, who, the things I've said about John are the exact same for Martha. I think Martha is a great character. I think especially in Man of Steel, like I said just a few minutes ago, when John wasn't that role model character for Clark, Martha was, which I loved because I also have a very close relationship with my mum, and that's why I love that version of Superman so much, is the relationship with his mum. And yeah, so I think Martha is just an important character. It's that it's more so Martha looking after people, and Martha always like helping out Smallville and always putting Smallville first and taking care of others, like when she brings in like when she takes care of Superboy and all that stuff. And I think that's one thing Superman, that's another lesson that Superman learned early on, was bringing in others and taking care of him and putting other people first and Smallville first. And feeling like a Smallville, that's what was really important to Martha. And so I think that's a lesson that Clark takes on, and then he really wants Metropolis or the world in general to be like a Smallville. And so in saying that, who would I want to be Martha Kent? I do have some names down here. Patricia Heaton, who if you've seen Everybody Loves Raymond, and then she did the other show, I can't remember the name, it's called The Middle, I think. She plays a great mum. I think she plays that kind of like very loving and caring mum, and always wanting to look after people and always making sure her kids are safe and her kids are happy and all that. I think she would be a great Martha Kent. Diane Lane, who played Martha Kent in Man of Steel, I would love for her to get another shot at the role. I thought she was outstanding as Martha. And she wasn't really used much in all three movies. And so I really hope she can get another opportunity at the role, because I think she would be outstanding. I think she would be great. I really liked her. And kind of that, like, especially the scene when I think when Clark in Man of Steel, when Clark first comes back and he tells Martha that he found his people, he found a Kryptonian ship, and he found out who his real dad was, and Martha just starts crying because she's so scared of like them taking him away, and it's that like such love for her son that like Clark values so much, and I think that's what Clark gives out to the world, is that love and affection he got as a kid is what everybody else should get. So I would love that again, to see that Martha again. And another actress that I've got down, which is a really surprising one, but I was thinking about it more and more, and I was like, damn, it's pretty good. I think Sandra Bullock could be a good Martha Kent. I think she's such an incredible actress, and I think over the recent years she's kind of done more serious roles, more dramatic roles. Especially I think Bird Box was outstanding. I think she was brilliant in that. I think that's the example I'm going to use. She also did another movie as well, which I can't remember, where she plays a mother. But her role in Bird Box was outstanding, and it's that kind of like protecting people again, and that and kind of bringing people together, to try and have something good again, and when the world's kind of gone to shit, she wants to kind of like, she has that hope that it's all going to be okay and that everything's going to come back to normal. And I think, like I said before, that's the trait with Martha Kent that I guess Superman learned. It's that feeling of kind of bringing Smallville together and to wanting to kind of unite people and look forward to a better tomorrow, and tomorrow's got to be okay, don't worry about it. And I think that's a trait Sandra Bullock really can pull off really well. And so that's something I would love with Superman Legacy. And like I said, I think with those three kind of traits and personalities that I've said with those 6 actors and actress, I think any of those would portray the character so well. But I think if I could pick 2, I think I would love John Kent to be played by Sam Elliott, and I would love Martha Wayne. What's the say that name? Martha Kent to be played by Diane Lane. I'm really strong about Diane Lane playing that role again. I think she would be outstanding. Oh yeah, actually no, I've got some more castings down there as well. I think she would be great. I would love that so much. I think they would be such a great parents and such great characters, and I think their performances would be outstanding. All right, let's go on to the casting of Jimmy Olsen now, which hasn't been rumored at all. So this is kind of a really fresh and new kind of casting. And I have 3. I have 1 actress and 2 actors, and the actress and 2 actors are from the same movie, so it's really interesting. The first one is Inaki Goody, who is playing Luffy in the One Piece film. Who's a very new actor, a very fresh and upcoming actor. I'm not a big fan of One Piece, but I've seen a lot of stuff on the press, and I think he would be perfect Jimmy Olsen. I think he's that, just kind of like, I think especially with Luffy as well. I think Luffy is somewhat a similar character to Jimmy Olsen. Is like he's always wanting adventure. He's always wanting, that adrenaline rush and kind of always wanting to I don't know, like always wanting to get the best pictures. And I think Inaki Goody, what I've seen from clips from the One Piece film and what I've seen from him on the press, I think he would be a really good Jimmy Olsen. I think I would really like him to. I would really like to see him in the role. I think that's probably my number 1 pick for Jimmy Olsen. The next one is, I actually saw this one on Twitter, and this is the actress, Sophia Lillis, who played Beverly in It, the gingerhead girl, which is really interesting. It's I know everyone kind of gets a very uproar about when you gender swap and characters, but I think she would be an awesome Jimmy Olsen. I think it would be great. I think it would be such an interesting twist on the character of Jimmy Olsen. I think Jimmy Olsen especially is a character that really anybody can play. So I think kind of changing it up, and I think Sophia Lois does kind of look like Jimmy Olsen from some iterations from the comics. Finn Wolfhard is another one. This one's a very big stretch. I kind of think about it now, and it's not really that good, but I just kind of thought young, energetic teenager Finn Wolfhard. He's very hot right now. He's in a lot of movies, very, very well anticipated movies. So he he was the first one, but I don't think it's my number 1. But I think this next one though is my number 1. It's Jack Dylan Grazer, who played Shazam's best mate in the Shazam movies. I can't remember the character's name. Again, me being great with character names. But I think he would be great. I think the passion and the energy he shows in that character in Shazam. I'm gonna give me 2 seconds, because I'm sick of saying this character. I'm just gonna find out the name of his character. Give me 2 seconds. Freddie Freeman. That's it. Freddie Freeman. I think the energy and kind of like like the energy and that thrill to always, kind of wanting an adventure is something that Jimmy Olsen is loved for, and especially, like I said earlier in the episode about My Adventures with Superman was his relationship. Something that I love about Superman is his relationship with Superman, and how him and Superman are best friends, and all that. I love that in the comic books. And I love that with Shazam and Freddy in the Shazam movies. And that's something that I would really love in Superman Legacy. And I think that's something James Gunn, in terms of his writing, that's something he can really thrive for. And that's something he can really execute really well. We saw it in the Guardians. Like Peter Quill's relationship with Rocket and Drax. And I think he can do friendships and groups of friendships and really, really well. And that's something that's really vital to Superman, is his friendships with Lois and Jimmy. And that's something that always reminds Superman that kind of this is very valuable, life is very valuable, friendships are one of the most important things in life. And I think executing that and showing that off is going to be is really vital to me, and it's on my little checklist of things I want out of this movie. Yes, I have a checklist already for what I want to see in this movie. I haven't finished it yet. You guys will hear it soon, but I think it is something that I think needs to be shown in this movie, and I think it's something that's really important with this movie. So they're kind of like my castings for the other roles in this movie, and that are really important. We'll be right back. I'm going to grab a few Superman books that I think this movie should really aspire to adapt from, and elements from those books that I really want to see in this movie. So I'll be about 2 seconds. We are back. I'm back. I'm zesty. So I just picked out a bunch of books. It's a pretty fat stack here, so but these are kind of like the main books that I really want this movie to kind of adapt from, and some elements from these books that I would really love to see in this movie. The number one book that I would love, especially one scene in this book, Superman Man of Steel. This is a book from after the first Crisis, I think, Crisis on Infinite Earths, I think it was. This was kind of like, I think, the reset, or kind of like a retelling of his origin story. This is a great Superman book, by the way. Probably the number one origin. The art in it is outstanding. But the one thing I love from this book, and this is very. This book is very based off Superman Man of Tomorrow, the movie with Lobo, and I think the movie with Lobo and Parasite, that new DC AU universe kind of. So this is what this book is heavily inspired off. This is what that movie's heavily inspired off. Is this book. But especially in this book, when Superman first kind of enters Metropolis, so he doesn't even have the suit yet. He kind of just has like a leather jacket, and he has something wrapped around his face, and he saves that plane from crashing, and Lois Lane's on that plane. And he saves it, and everybody kind of like crowds him, and he gets very overstimulated and very kind of overwhelmed, and he flies off back to Smallville. And then John walks into his room. His dad walks into his room and sees like his head's in his hands, and he's kind of like, "Dad, I don't know if I can do this. I don't know if I can be a superhero." He kind of goes, "People were just like overswarming me, and they were very selfish. They were pushing each other out of the way just to get to me." And he goes, "I don't know if it's worth it. People are going to act like that. This isn't the world that I want it to be. I kind of, I thought I would be a superhero, so then people would aspire to be better, but if people are like this, I don't know if I want to do it or not." And John turns around to him and says, "Son, like, they will act like that, but at the end of the day, they need you. Deep down, they need you, and this world needs you. Because it's that idea that you have, and the ideas that," I didn't say this, but the ideas that John and Martha give him, and the love and care and the lessons that John taught him, is very vital. And Clark kind of realizes that, and he learns to kind of, he gets the new suit, and then he goes back in, and then he becomes a Superman, and then everyone kind of realizes that he does realize that this world is kind of worth saving and worth fighting for. And so that's one little element I would love from that book in particular. And so this next book, is this next book is basically what I want this whole movie to be. Now we know it is James Gunn has taken a lot of aspirations for one book, but this is what I want this book to. This whole movie I want it to be based on is Superman Birthright. This is an unbelievable Superman book. The art in it's phenomenal. So basically in this book, Superman, he's much older. Clark is about 23, 24, mid-20s maybe. And he kind of, he's just a journalist at this point. He's an independent journalist. So he's not working for the planet. He's kind of just going around the world and being a journalist. And he goes to Africa. And he goes to Africa when he goes to a village and he meets, I can't remember the name, he meets a very much Nelson Mandela character. Someone who kind of wants the country of Africa, like this. I can't remember the certain country that's in Africa, but he wants this country to kind of unite and be as one. But there's a rebel leader who wants his certain people to take over the country and kind of just wants money and jewelry and weapons and Superman kind of hangs out with this Nelson Mandela character and he learns a lot from him, and he learns a lot about aspiring people to be better, aspiring people to kind of believe in a better tomorrow and believe in hope and that believe the country can be united. And he kind of, and then this Nelson Mandela character goes onto a political building and kind of goes like, he brings up a very inspiring speech, and then he gets shot. And Superman Clark, I should say, was too late to save him. And then he kind of exposes himself and he shows them that he has powers. And one of the girls' first instinct is to be afraid, is to like, you can do these things. Why didn't you do better? And then he kind of realizes that he has to do that now. He has to be that Nelson Mandela character. He has to aspire hope. He has to kind of unite the world and unite Metropolis and to be a better tomorrow and believe in something. So that's what that book is on. That's basically what the book is, I should say. And Lex Luthor is the main villain. But I won't really talk about that because that version of Lex is what I don't want to see in the movie, so I won't bother going about that. But that's the main element from this book that I want in that movie. So basically I want the first half of this movie to be based on Superman Birthright. And I do highly recommend people check this book out. It's great. The art is phenomenal. I will try and find a great, the art just looks outstanding. And there's a great bit where Superman saves a school shooting. And this little speech here is, maybe this is a scene that I would love in the movie. But he says here, 1 minute ago, I saw a little girl screaming because she was staring down the barrel of a gun. She was 9. And she'll remember that for the rest of her life. I love that. I love that line. And so I would love a little page like that in the book. A little scene like that in the movie, which would be great. It's something that would really hit home with people around the world, especially because that is something, unfortunately, that happens quite a lot every day in our lives. So that's something I would love to see in that movie. Just a little scene like that, which would be great. On to the next book, which is Superman Man of Tomorrow. So this is kind of a little anthology series, which is really good. It's one of the stories in here that I really want transcribed, and this is how this is more so how I want Superman looked at from other heroes. This is how I want other heroes to view Superman. Sorry, that's a better way to say it. So if you know the Greek mythology of Atlas, you know that Atlas was cursed to lift the whole world for the rest of eternity, and Atlas' daughter was getting married. And so Superman went down and he said, I will hold the planet for you. You can go see your daughter get married. And it's great panel work because let me see if I can get it here. I think it's after. Give me 2 seconds. I'm terribly sorry. Yeah, so it's like panels like this, which are great. If you can see that. And he's kind of lifting the panel, and all these heroes are saving Metropolis. They're going around and saving Metropolis. You know, like, let's say, for example, right, so there's the bit with the Flash, right? You know, this villain's about to he's just robbed the bank, right, in Metropolis, and the Flash comes in and he stops the robbers, and someone goes, "You're a good man, Flash," and Flash turns around and goes, "Superman is always there in a crisis. It's the least I could do." Another one which is really good here with Firestorm. There's big chemical monsters there, and these firefighters are really struggling to beat it. And Firestorm comes along and saves the day. And one of them goes, "Appreciate it, Firestorm. We'll make sure Camo gets back in containment." And Firestorm goes, "No problem. Tell Superman I said thanks for everything." And that's how I want Superman viewed in this. That's how I want people like Guy Gardner, who is confirmed in the movie, Mr. Terrific, and Hawkgirl. That's how I want them to view Superman by the end of this movie. Is I want them to kind of go, "This Superman is the best thing for this planet." It's honestly Superman. The ideas he has, and then the way he uses his powers, and the ideology he has, and the reasons he does it, is the best thing for this planet. It's something that we've needed for a long time. And that's something I would really love in Superman Legacy, at the end of it at least. The next book I won't go into too much. Superman, All-Star Superman. This is what James Gunn is heavily aspiring this movie off. Which I think this book is okay. Oh, I'm terribly sorry. There are some moments in this book that I don't like. There are some moments in this book that I absolutely love. So, I think we've all seen the panel of where Superman saves the girl from jumping off. That is one scene that I would absolutely die for in that movie. So it's elements like that and other things that I would love from this book to be onto the big screen in the script. There are some things in the script that I don't want, like how weird this book is and how Grant Morrison is really kind of trippy, and a lot of the times for me it doesn't really make sense. That's some things that I hope James Gunn didn't listen to. But like I said, those elements that I've said that I really like, I hope they transcribe into the movie. The next book that I really love is Superman Grounded. This is an unbelievable Superman story as well. This is where Superman kind of he doesn't really know what he wants to do. He doesn't really know what he's doing is right. So he walks around America. He doesn't fly, he just walks. And he kind of tries to get different people's views and perspective on what he does, and he wants to know what type of impact he makes. And so this is a book that really told me especially how kind of how important his job is and how much he loves people in this book, and how much he's willing to help out whatever it is, because he's walking around the whole country. And that's something that I would love in this book, in the movie a lot, is for that to be put into the movie as well, and how much he loves people, and I would love a little montage of him like doing things like this, like you know, like there's a like in the All-Star book, there is that moment where that girl's about to jump off the building. There is a moment similar to that, but it's more fleshed out, which is really nice, which is really good, really emotional. There in volume 2 of this, there's a great moment where Clark is writing an article, and he writes the article, "Does the world need Superman?" And someone walks past him and goes, "What are you talking about?" Grabs him and then walks outside, and then they ask random people on the street, "Do you reckon the world needs Superman?" And all of them tell their own personal story of what Superman's done for him. And it's great, and that's what I love about Superman most. It's that people-person connection. And I hope that is also implemented it into the movie quite early on, or maybe the middle half when Clark becomes Superman. Now this book, I could do a whole episode on this book, which I would like to maybe one day. Me and Liam, that's an episode me and Liam would like to do. But Superman Red and Blue, I think is the best Superman book of all time. I think it is my favorite book of all time. I read this thing cover to cover hundreds of times. I think every single page, every single art panel work, every single sentence from this book should be implemented into this goddamn movie. I think especially the one panel that everybody knows about is when Clark is in space and he's looking at the world and he goes, "I love you. I love you. I'm proud of you." That is one. I would love that to be like the final scene of the movie. And the camera just cuts. That would be brilliant. But like, yeah, I'm not gonna go too much into this, but like every single page, every single panel, every single sentence, dot point, variant cover, whatever the fuck this book has in it, I want in the movie. Because it's just perfection. That book, it's just absolute. Bloody hell, I'm exhausted. You can just tell already because I'm just so passionate about this character, and you can just tell I'm so excited for this movie that I have a lot to get off my chest about it. But there are a lot of elements that from those books in particular, and they're some of my favorite Superman books ever. I highly recommend you check all of those out. I might actually leave a list in the description, and what those books are called if you want to check them out. But yeah, they're kind of like those elements are that's my checklist right there. That's what I really, really want in this movie are those elements and ideas and themes. I'm gonna go on to villains now, and then we'll go on to Comics Corner. Actually, I might go straight to Comics Corner because we are going into a little bit overtime. Villains I might save for the DCEU casting video, which I'll do with Liam. Actually, I'll just the villain that I'd want in the first movie is Lobo. I think Lobo would be a great villain. I think it's a fun character. I think it's something the audience would love to. So I think Lobo would be great. I think I've kind of said a lot what I want with Lex Luthor. I think Lobo will just kind of be there for plot reasons. So that's kind of the villain that I really want in Superman Legacy. I'm gonna jump into comic book corner. I'm gonna jump into Comics Corner now. And the book I read a few weeks ago was Batman Black and White. This has been shitting on my shelves for a while now. No, this has been sitting on my shelves for a long time now. I bought this like last year and I just haven't read it until now. This is very similar to Superman Red and Blue. But it's black and white. It's Batman. This was written in the 90s, so this has some of the greatest writers that were current in the 90s. I mean, there are some names like Frank Miller. Where was the other one? Matt Wagner, Jim Lee, Clash Johnson, who drew all of the Daredevil stuff like Born Again. Alex Ross. I mean, like, come on. There's Neil Gaiman, for God's sake. You know what I mean? Like Neil Adams, comic book legend. Bruce Timm, who did the Batman animated series. I mean, there are some GOAT names, some powerhouse names on this book. I read this book in about an hour. I started it. I remember starting it on... when did I start it? Yeah, I remember starting it on Thursday night. I was like, oh, this is pretty good. I'll read more of it tomorrow. And then I finished it all in an hour. I finished all of it in an hour. Like, just on the couch all day. Just reading it. It's unbelievable. I'm such a big fan of anthology series. I think they're great. I think a lot of comic book industries, I think Marvel especially, to do more anthology series. I know the black, white, and red stuff has been really good. I hope they do more of it, but just kind of things like this, like black and white, red and blue. I think there's a black and gold with Wonder Woman, which I will definitely have to check out. But these are kind of great, and Liam said it about red and blue as well, and I definitely say it about this book as well. This is a great kind of biography of Batman, of the character of Batman. I think this book really reminded me of why I love Batman so much, because I went off Batman a long time ago, because I just kind of got sick of him, and the way DC were just giving him so much plot armor, it wasn't even funny. But this book really reminded me of why I love Batman so much, and I think why he's so different from anyone else, and I think why he's so loved as a character. And so yeah, I just highly recommend this book to any kind of DC fan, especially Batman fans. Batman, Batman, black and white. Check it out. But I think that's all for tonight. I hope you guys enjoyed the episode with just me. I know it's a little bit different. Unfortunately, again, Liam couldn't be here. He's off acting, which is great. Please leave a comment supporting him. He would absolutely love it. But yeah, I think that's it for today's episode. Next week, I will have a good friend of mine on, and we will do a Dragon Ball episode, which will be something completely different. But it's something that I'm very passionate about. It's something I really want to talk about, and I know Matt is very passionate about that as well. Who is the friend that is coming on, by the way? I will leave you with a little message from our little friend. Hey, it's me, Goku. Hope you guys enjoyed. Please like, subscribe, leave a comment on what you thought, what you guys want out of Superman Legacy, what you want us to discuss next. And just a reminder, Goku negs your favorite verse.